Hey everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today I want to do a somewhat short video on Tony Hawk's new course on masterclass.com. If you're not familiar with Masterclass, it's basically kind of like the Netflix for video courses from recognizable people. So that could mean, a video from Tony Hawk or a course by Bob Iger, uh, the CEO of Disney, or Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks on coffee, or it could mean something else such as, uh, you know, basically all sorts of stuff. Christina Aguilera has a course, Usher has a course, Timbaland has a course, Malcolm Gladwell has a course on writing. You get the idea. Pretty much a lot of these top people, James Patterson, have courses on here. And you can get the whole thing for one price. It's a yearly price, or you could buy them a la carte. Now, what I have here is Tony Hawk's course. And as a non-skater, I wanted to review his course in detail to give you some reference experience on what to expect from a masterclass.com course and how a non-skater may benefit. Now, I think the all access pass is worth 10 times the a la carte purchase. When I bought it, it was about $40 per class, or you could get all these classes, which it's about like 40, 50 teachers for just twice the price. So about 90-ish dollars. Maybe it's 180, but it's still so worth it. And so I got the all access pass, and I've taken almost a dozen courses on here, from writing courses to science courses to music courses to cooking courses. I've taken a lot of courses on here. And some of the things I'll do is, since I love kind of learning from successful people. Even if I'm not interested in poker, I'll take a poker course on here from a world champion poker player. In fact, I've taken two from Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu. And now I'm taking Tony Hawk's course. But what you can do if you're not a skater or you're not someone who cares about the mechanics of poker or skating is you can go through the modules and find the ones that are more generalized and relevant to just success in general. And that's what I've done. And we're going to be touching briefly on the pros and cons to this course, what I liked about it, so a couple of the lessons I've learned from the modules I've taken, and my own overall sense for whether it's worth it or not. So let's just get started. Here's basically how many videos you're getting. You're getting 16 videos. They give you the full duration, an hour and 41 minutes. I like to play things at 1.5 times speed usually. So, that cuts it down to maybe an hour for me to take the whole course. And I would say that's pretty typical for a master class. This one's pretty decent size. I prefer them a little bit longer, and my favorite course on here so far has been Samuel Jackson's course on acting. Well, one of my favorites, and his was a little bit longer, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And so I prefer more comprehensive stuff. But to each their own. Some people prefer things very just quick, basic, under an hour. I personally think that you don't really tap into the juice, the details, um, if it's under an hour. Like some courses on here, like Christina Aguilera's, they were like 10 videos or less. Bob Iger's was like 9 videos or something, and they're like 5 or 10 minutes each. And I just didn't feel like they really got into the details as much as I wanted. Now they did cover a lot of great business strategy and case studies during that hour, but I wanted more. Now, the first video is just always like an intro video, masterclass style. That's highly produced, and it just gives you details on his life, basically. So it always starts with the masterclass logo and sound. It's just, very premium quality sound and design. And then it just jumps into his life and like so yeah, it just kind of goes into like, his little bit of his life story, and then dives into like, what you can expect from this guy. So I thought that was pretty cool. You could rate every lesson here, and then you can jump to his top rated lessons here. And then sometimes there's a little bit of community where you can kind of leave a comment here. Now, let me dive into the modules I took. So I skipped the basically I skipped everything else, which was most of the modules were specifics on a specific type of technique. And I didn't really care about skateboarding that much as success in life. So I didn't really care about, you know, some of these. As you can see, there are videos on technique, skills, the ollie, street basics, intermediate and advanced park basics, vert advanced. That's very typical for a lot of these sports style courses on here. And so, if you're considering masterclass, I've seen similar things for gymnastics courses on here, for tennis courses on here. It's all very kind of here's how you do a fundamental technique, or here's how you do an advanced technique. I think the downside to something like that, and bear in mind, I have a lot of compliments I'm going to give, so it's not like I'm trashing this course. I liked it. But the one con I would say is that a lot of these sports type courses, they give you these basics that are very high produced and 5 to 10 minutes long, but arguably you can get the same thing maybe for less, at a lower quality on YouTube. There's hundreds of videos teaching you how to do an ollie on YouTube. And so what you're really getting is how to do it from this expert. And so you might get some certain nuances or tricks to how to do it that some guy off the street teaching it on YouTube might miss. And that could be very valuable for people, specifically professionals or intermediate to advanced people who want to take it to the next level and just fine tune those small tweaks that they're unaware of. On the flip side, I've done a few sports courses, and sometimes, you don't really pick up anything revolutionarily new. For example, I wanted to learn how to do a muscle up, and I took part of a gymnastics course, and I've been trying to do muscle ups for a while now, maybe a year and a half, and I didn't necessarily learn anything new. She explained how to do it. She did it effortlessly, and it was still exceptionally hard for me to even get up onto the bar. So it really didn't provide the full package that I wanted, which may have more so been some type of thorough, comprehensive, step-by-step, A to Z, incremental plan for how you would get up to doing a muscle up. So that's just something we want to keep in mind. Now let's jump into the things I did like about the modules and some of the things I learned. So I really, really liked his underdog to icon module and trials and tribulations module. And both of these modules basically covered kind of his life story and some of the lessons he's learned during his struggles. The underdog module covered how, he went from just this scrawny kid in school to a professional skater. I was fascinated to hear his story because my perspective on Tony Hawk was very limited. Essentially, I just knew that he was a very famous pro skater, and he was around ever since I was in middle school, and people loved this guy. And he was like one of the only recognizable names in skateboarding from people outside of the skateboarding community. And I just thought, he was this incredible pro skater. He probably set a lot of records when he was, uh, on the come up. And, he just had this awesome life. He was this kind of renegade, awesome kid who just had an awesome life throughout life, got paid a lot. And you learn that, that's not always true. Like, and this is a common pattern when I'm studying successful people. Same thing with Bruce Lee when I study, and I'm like, whoa, I thought he was this super confident dude all the time. Nope, Bruce Lee had uh, he had some struggles and insecurities and when he was growing up. And so you learn these things and you're like, wow. And so just from a relatability standpoint, it's inspirational because you're like, you know what? Maybe I'm not so far gone and different from these people. That maybe if he can do it, maybe I can do it. And so you learn, you learn that Tony Hawk was, and they show you a lot of these. Maybe I could show you like a little still from it just to give you an idea. But there's a lot of these pictures in the actual video that kind of like it's really well produced. There's certain pictures and icons during the story, and then it cuts back to him talking. He provided a lot of like childhood pictures and even video stills of like him skateboarding in like the 80s or 90s. So it's really cool that he captured all that, and it kind of really helped tell the story. So he definitely provided that. And one of the biggest revolutions for me in this module was just that this guy was basically an outcast, a very scrawny, nerdy guy who did very well in school. He was in a lot of advanced courses, but he really didn't have many friends. He was bullied a lot. And, skateboarding wasn't looked at as a cool thing. It was the most uncool thing at the time. It was like, a kid playing with their yo-yo now. And that just blew my mind because I didn't think of it like this at all. I thought skateboarding was super cool. And, these almost hipster tattooed guys who were usually somewhat popular in school are the skateboarders. And uh, that wasn't the case. And I thought, well, he has this profile. He probably didn't do well in school, and he did. And so it made it much more relatable and inspirational for me, knowing that like this guy was this guy who was actually kind of a nerd, a relatable nerd in a way, who really, really, really loved this hobby and clung to it, even though it didn't make any money initially, and people made fun of him for it. So that really just opens my mind. Like, what are you doing today that you're maybe embarrassed of, that people don't think is cool, that could turn into something crazy one day? You never know, or at least bring you a lot of joy. For me, I'm still experimenting. One thing I really like is personal development and studying successful people. But there's other stuff. There's stuff may not have even discovered. And so that's something that we should really think about. Now, moving on to the trials and tribulations module, this one was also very interesting, but in a different way. He covered the struggles that he went through in life, and it's also very high produced, and it really went into detail about how he went from pursuing this passion to making a heck of a lot of money from it. Um, and it was gradual, but by the time he was in high school, he bought himself a house. Think about that. And he was doing this through competitive pro skating. But it was also interesting, going back to a relatability thing, that people in high school, they still didn't think he was cool. He was just this random kid that was still like in a ghost town. But then when he would went to go to these competitions and win them, he would make a lot of money, and he was very famous in the competition. I think the biggest lesson I learned from this module was dealing with success and fame. He basically stated that you shouldn't treat success as something that will last forever. And when you're young, you think you're invincible and you think it will. And that's how he was. And sure enough, the skateboarding sponsorship money evaporated. His earnings went pretty much halved every month until he was making nothing. And so that's very scary, from on top of the world to nothing. And that's a huge lesson that I don't think it's such a gold nugget from someone who's been there and done that, that many people don't have access to, many people don't respect, many people aren't even aware of the value of lessons like this, and they have to learn it the hard way. I can't tell you how many YouTubers, there's at least 50 that I followed on YouTube, who have just stumbled across so much wealth in such a short time. Many of them very new to this whole YouTube world. Like I've been on the YouTube game for years and years, almost a decade, just as a fan as well as a creator. But some of these guys, they blow up within 2 or 3 years, and they're making millions uh, through either Fortnite or through their rap videos or through their prank videos or their vlogs or their stunts. And all of a sudden, they're making all this money, and I guarantee you a lot of them don't know about Tony Hawk's advice here. And what's going to happen? I see it in their behavior. They're spending lavishly on Louis Vuitton, Gucci, showing off, buying jacuzzis, and you, it's going to evaporate one day. Maybe not all of them, but some of them, 2 or 3 years from now, their money's going their videos are just going to stop getting views, and what are they going to do then? They've spent all their money, and now they've come and gone. So I think it's very useful. He stressed saving some of your money during this time, and I just found it incredibly valuable. uh, it was such a short but incredible lesson. So moving on to the next module I want to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up here with just like some final conclusions about this course. One of the things I learned from his How to Win module, this is one where it really goes into kind of his competitive days, his business life, his longevity. It comes down to how did he stay relevant all these years? It turns out I found out that he retired from skateboarding competitively moderately quickly because he felt he was kind of like outdated and uh, he didn't like the pressure anymore. And the thing is, still to this day, like if you were to ask anyone on the street, including me, like names a name in skateboarding, Tony Hawk's the only name I could come across. So how has he kind of transitioned that to a business and his life? Well, I was kind of disappointed to find out he didn't really go into details about his business and how he really exactly did that. But what he did say was that in terms of success, longevity, and building a personal brand, he said, as far as skating goes, it's all about doing something unique. He says, in terms of the skateboarding arena, and of course, this advice may be different from other arenas, but for skateboarding, just based on the silhouette, he can tell what pro skater it is because there's so much versatility in skateboarding that you can do your own unique thing and it'll help you stand out, and there's so many different ways of skateboarding with different terrains that you can do something unique very easily. And so he highly recommends doing unique stuff to kind of stand out and at least doing that initially to build your niche. And of course, that's very valuable information for anyone, including myself, who's maybe not a skater but trying to build a personal brand. And so, what's that for me? Maybe I play up the fact that I'm this kind of Asian nerdy guy with glasses, and that's my little flavor and style when you watch my YouTube videos. I don't know, but that's just an example. On top of that, in terms of his longevity, he really touched on, and of course, there's more detail if you actually buy the course, but the basic idea was he touched on how longevity is about, for him, it was about, you know, embracing that freedom and doing exhibition shows and stuff after he quit competing competitively. And so even though the money dried up, he loved it so much that he stuck with the business. He built a company with skateboarding, and that's really what led him to happiness. And as a side benefit, a lot of money later on. His he said he's seen a lot of people who make a lot of money, but found a way of doing it in a career path that they weren't that excited about. And the end result was basically just them really feeling unhappy about it, even though they were making boatloads of money. And so for him, he had the opposite effect where once his skateboarding sponsorship money dried up, he still loved the sport so much that he started this business company hoping that skateboarding would come back into the trend, banking on the fact that he loved it, but also because he had seen two previous cycles where skateboarding got really popular and then died off. And sure enough, it came back around and he was able to kind of monetize it through a lot of exhibition shows, which I gather was very valuable to him because after he retired, he basically had so much freedom and less pressure, which allowed him to learn more and more new tricks rather than before when he was very conservative with learning tricks because he had to compete and he had to land everything, which allowed him to kind of build his longevity through his exhibition tricks. So, of course, there's a lot more we can cover if you actually took the course. So, um, if you would like to do it, please consider using my affiliate link. I have a link in the description of this video. And if you go through it and purchase at no extra cost to you, I'll get a commission off your purchase. I recommend the All Access Pass because you're getting more than 10 times the value for just a small hike up on price. You're getting all the courses rather than just one course for $45. You're getting 50, 60 courses, and they're adding courses almost every week, every 2 weeks. Like just in the last month, there's this interior design course by this master designer that I'm taking as well. Neil Tyson released the course. Um, all sorts of people are releasing courses. It's fascinating. There's even a gardening course from a master gardener that was added recently. So it's well worth it. And there's also a link in the description to my blog article that gives a comprehensive review on the pros and cons to masterclass.com compared to other online courses and services I've taken. In conclusion, I think Tony Hawk's course is worth taking, even for someone who is more intermediate and advanced. You have to keep in mind that in terms of a course formatted like this, you do not have to take every single module and watch every second of the video. For a advanced skateboarder, you may be just kind of running through all the courses on 2x speed or 1.5 times speed to find those small moments. Maybe it's only 10 or 30 seconds of a video, but those small nuances that maybe Tony used in his skateboarding techniques that you can adopt that you weren't aware of. Those small tweaks are really what's going to make that difference. And that's really all you're really searching for. You're panning for gold here. And there is some gold in these things when you have access to such a legendary athlete. Now, I've talked a lot about the pros. I've touched on some of the cons. I think overall, I would give this course maybe a solid B plus or B. And the reason behind that is personally, I prefer a more comprehensive course, and I feel like there could be more going on here. And I felt like I got the sense that maybe they only had 2 days with Tony to film the whole thing, which is sometimes fairly common with these very busy people. Maybe they only had that time, and so he invited the crew to his house, and then they outlined something, and then they shot everything in those 2 days. And while that's really cool and stuff, um, the benefit, the flip side would be, you're missing these. Like, I would have loved to get the details of how he built his business and stuff, and more lessons from that. But that's something that arguably could be reserved for a biography. And that's exactly what happened with the Bob Iger situation. After I took his course, I read his biography, or at least it was more of a memoir than a biography. And that's where I learned a lot more details, and sometimes excessively detailed specifics on his life and pursuit. Overall, I think in terms of this course, you're either trying to get just general success advice like I am, competitive advice, which there's a little bit about, mainly these last two modules, and uh, maybe social media sponsorship influencer advice, which I would say, half of the trials and tribulation module is on, or skateboarding advice. And that's why you should take this course. I think it's a good gift for any beginner who really loves skateboarding, because you're learning from a master. You could learn it from YouTube, and that's like the kind of budget way of doing it, but you're also sacrificing in terms of maybe the quality of the expertise, the credibility, and just the high production. So check it out. Check out the links in the description if you want to check out Masterclass. You can even gift Masterclass to a friend. That's also an option. And thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'll see you.